I'm Hampton Smith.
And I'm Matt Anderson.
Today we're in the Minnehaha Depot in Minneapolis.
Minnesota has a rich railroad history. In addition to shipping its own agricultural, mineral, and manufactured products, the state served as a rail gateway to the Pacific Northwest.
Yes, the Great Northern, the Northern Pacific, and the Soo Line all maintain their headquarters here. In addition, there were many trunk lines, regional lines, and short lines that operated in the state. These are all well documented in the Society's collections.
Most prominent among the three-dimensional artifacts is the William Crooks. The Crooks was the first locomotive to operate in Minnesota when it made its inaugural 10-mile run between St. Paul and St. Anthony in 1862. Today, the Crooks, together with an early baggage car and coach, is on display at the Lake Superior Railroad Museum in Duluth. Smaller artifacts represent both the workers' and the passengers' experience on the railroad. This Soo Line flagman's kit dates to the mid-1960s. In the event of an emergency, the kit's flares, and of course flag, provided the flagman with visual warning signals, signaling the following train to stop to avoid a collision. This padlock, stamped with a patent date of 1936 in the initials of the Chicago, St. Paul, Milwaukee, and Pacific, was used to secure a track switch to prevent vandals from tampering with it and possibly causing a derailment. The lantern, like this early 20th century example issued by the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy, might be the railroader's most iconic tool. Its purpose isn't so much to see, but to be seen. The lantern improves the nighttime visibility of hand signals used to communicate train movements between a crew member and the engineer, for example, when coupling or uncoupling cars. When hand signals are impossible, crews communicate with walkie-talkies, like this 1970s example used on the Soo Line. Few jobs were as desirable as that of conductor on a premier passenger train. Not only was it prestigious, it came with a regular schedule, something particularly prized among employees used to being called to work at all hours. This uniform, dating to the middle of the 20th century, belonged to a conductor on the Chicago, St. Paul, Milwaukee, and Pacific. Perhaps he wore it on one of the Milwaukee Road's famed Hiawatha trains between Chicago and the Twin Cities. Many railroads were acclaimed for the quality of their dining service. This graceful plate, with flowers and a peacock at center, was used aboard the Milwaukee Road's Hiawatha trains in the 1930s. This elegant mustard pot also has a Milwaukee Road lineage, as evidenced by its engraved initials. This box of Soo Line coasters dates to 1958. The Northern Pacific's dining cars were best known for their oversized baked potatoes, as proudly advertised on this spoon. Railroads often promoted their proximity to national parks to entice vacationers. The Northern Pacific dubbed itself the Yellowstone Park Line in this employee's badge, while the Great Northern tied itself to Glacier National Park in this decal. This piece of the past may in fact be Prologue. The sign was used on the Milwaukee Road's main line between the Twin Cities and Chicago, the very same track currently under study for high-speed passenger service in the coming years.
In addition to 3D objects, the Minnesota Historical Society has impressive holdings of records from the major railroads headquartered in the state. The Great Northern and Northern Pacific were primary lines connecting the upper Midwest and through it the rest of the nation to the Pacific Northwest. The lines also tapped the great agricultural, mining, and timber resources of the Dakotas, Montana, Idaho, Washington, Oregon, and British Columbia. The Society's railroad records encompass a vast variety of items, including timetables, detailed maps, drawings of equipment, building plans, personnel records, thousands of photographs promoting the railroads, and of course, records documenting the operation of these vast business enterprises that became the model for the modern corporation. Complementing these records are the personal letters, diaries, and financial papers of James J. Hill, founder of the Great Northern, and the papers of his son Louis Hill, who followed him as president of the GN. The personal lives of these men were very much intertwined with their business interest, and their private papers include much detailed information on the railroads.
Minnesota's railroads brought new residents into the state and shipped its products out to the rest of the country.
Those important contributions are preserved and presented in the collections of the Minnesota Historical Society.